And welcome. Tony Scott Internet Show is on, man. Lots of stuff to talk about. Lots of stuff to get into. I guess first we'll start out in Paris, France, where some terrorists went into a newspaper, a French paper that's known to lampoon and poke fun at politicians, and they poke fun at Al-Qaeda, they poke fun at ISIS. And a couple of guys, maybe three of them, two of them were brothers. They're still looking for the third one as of me recording this for you. Went in there and shot up some very famous, at least in France, people who were, worked for the newspaper. And why they did it, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't like the way they did their newspaper, the political cartoons and the lampooning. One man's lampooning is another man's insult. The world is outraged. The world is stunned that something like this would happen to a newspaper. But then you have to remember, this is really the only country that really has freedom of the press. True freedom of the press. To the point where it's borderline irresponsible depending on who you talk to. But at the very least, that's open for debate. But what happened in Paris, France, man, I saw the reports on television. One of the alleged executed a police officer who they shot down. He was laying on the sidewalk and they just walked up to him and executed him. It's just a big mess. And thoughts and prayers, man. It's not the way the world is supposed to be. But then, as Americans, we have to remember that, not all the world thinks like we do, or not all the world has the freedoms that we have over here. Clearly, we've taken them for granted for many years, but that's another conversation. But what happened today, you can't go around doing stuff like that. But it happened. So here in America, in Colorado Springs, the NAACP chapter there was a target of a bombing. No members were hurt at the NAACP, but the FBI says it was a deliberate thing that happened. A gas can connected to a device was detonated against the wall of the building about 11 o'clock yesterday morning. The gas can did not ignite after the explosion, but it did to char the exterior wall of the building. They're looking for a, quote, balding white man in his 40s who may be driving a dirty 2000 or older white pickup truck with paneling, an open tailgate, and a missing or covered license plate. They're not ready to call him a suspect, the FBI, but he is described as, quote, a person of interest, as someone near the scene around the time of the explosion. Volunteers who were inside the NAACP building says they heard a loud explosion, a loud noise, and then items fell off the shelves, but nobody was hurt. But it just goes to show that as much change as there's been, some things remain the same. The world we live in, man. I don't know. 13-month-old baby boy, Northwest Milwaukee, at home, was shot and killed. Apparently, whoever shot and killed the 13-month-old boy was looking for a 19-year-old man living in a nearly identical duplex on the same block. That's according to the documents charging the man with conspiracy to make or deliver heroin. Quisin Sanders may have been targeted by a rival drug dealer. Nobody's been charged in the death of the toddler. But that's just... I really don't have anything to say after that about that situation. I just don't. I don't. It's one of those things that you pray. I don't know, in the St. Louis area, there's been a part of town where there's been lots of drive-by shootings, and people have been, people who live in their lives and not even involved in anything, just living their lives, have had bullets come through their house. How frightening is that? I don't know if you heard about the case in Connecticut where a 17-year-old who's got cancer, I think lymphoma, is being forced to undergo chemotherapy. She doesn't want chemotherapy. Her mother is standing with her because she says it's putting toxins in her body that are killing parts of her body, although research says it's 85% successful, but she doesn't want that. In fact, she had a couple of treatments and then she ran away from home. Well, now the state has custody of her and she's being forced to undergo chemotherapy against her will. You can't make that decision of whether to do it or not until you're at least 18. So she's wanted a court action. She wants to be treated as an adult. She's almost 18. Her mom says that her daughter should have the right to make that decision. The courts disagree so far. They have appealed to the state Supreme Court. I don't know that there's not an official decision on that yet, but in the meantime, she still has to go through this chemotherapy. I mean, how do you feel about that? To me, it's the mother's response. I tell my kids all the time, part of my job as your father is I have to save you from yourself. And that means that sometimes I have to make decisions that are in your best interest that you're not ready to make. And if a 17-year-old doesn't want chemotherapy that will save her life, then as a parent, aren't you obligated? Aren't you obligated to force her? Aren't you obligated to take control of that situation? Your obligation is to save your child's life, not to leave it up to them at 17. She may very well be even more mature than I am. But still, I just don't see how this mother, and I'm not in her shoes, so I cannot really address it like I know how she feels. I don't know how she feels. But I do know as a parent, God forbid one of my children get that sick, I'm pulling out all stops. If my child says, I don't want this, and she's not old enough to make that decision or mature enough to make that decision, in my estimation, I have to override that because that's my job as a parent. You may disagree, and that's okay. But I just don't see where that makes a lot of sense to do something like that as a parent. In LA, the police department they're going to have these high-tech tasers that when it triggers video recording and tracks key information from the time the tasers, I don't know if the time they're fired or the time they're pulled out of their holster, but it will track the date, time, length of firing when an officer uses a taser. It'll instantly trigger body cameras worn by cops that it will initiate a video recording of the incident. That should eliminate, forgot to turn it on, or whatever excuse cops are using. But they're planning on deploying these to Los Angeles police, I would imagine probably just as soon as they can. I think that's a good idea. Technology does some wonderful things, and one of them is to do something like this. They've already ordered 3,000 of them. I'm sure they will be ordering more. I think that's great. So Republicans have taken over Congress, and the first thing they do is to put a national anti-abortion bill out there. I mean, it's not law yet, but the very first day of the 114th Congress, two lawmakers introduced a measure to ban abortions after 20 weeks in direct violations of the protections afforded under Roe v. Wade. Now, this passed the House last year, the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. But, it has to pass both houses of Congress. Isn't that how it works? But of course, the Democrats had control of one house, and now they don't have control of either house. So it's very possible that this could become law. There again, telling people what they do with their bodies. I don't know. I don't know. That's just first day. This is the first thing you do. First thing. Really? Wow. They're coming in hard, man. Coming in hard. A former Baltimore Ravens cheerleader is facing a final case review in a couple of months on charges that she raped a teenage boy and provided other minors with alcohol. 47-year-old Molly Shattuck was scheduled for a case review on Wednesday, but it's been scheduled actually for March 18th. She was indicted this past November on charges of third-degree rape, unlawful sexual contact, and providing alcohol to minors. She has pleaded not guilty. All this came about after a 15-year-old boy told police that she had began an inappropriate relationship with him near Baltimore that culminated with sex at a vacation rental home over Labor Day weekend. She is the ex-wife of a prominent Maryland energy executive, Mayo Shattuck. But, I often wonder when things like this happen, when a teacher's taking advantage of a student sexually, in their mind, I guess it does not ever occur to them that they are not only breaking the law, but they're actually doing something very wrong. And they may say, well, the heart wants what the heart wants, but but the heart can't always have what the heart wants, especially when the want is a minor, the juvenile. You can't do that. But what in your mind? What is it in their mind that thinks that this is love? This is actual love, like not love for a child or a minor or a neighbor's kid or something like that, but not sexual love, romantic love. I don't know, man. What is it about that? That just seems kind of, there's something wrong, right? And yet women, more times than not, these female teachers, they get away. They get away with, the most they get is like parole or probation, and then maybe they have to register as a sex offender. Remember that one woman who didn't get sent to jail because she was too good looking? What the hell's that about? What is that? She was too good looking to go to jail for having sex with a minor? I don't know, man. Here in the St. Louis area, all the Macaroni Grills closed, and people who had gift cards are up in arms. Because at first, Romano's Macaroni Grill, they told people, well, you can go to one of our other locations, but, who wants to go to Memphis for some lobster ravioli? Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So then they said, well, you can take it to Joe's Crab Shack or some other place that's in the Chesterfield, and it will, after you go through the process of converting your gift cards, you can do that. Because those are other restaurants that the company owns, the parent company. The Brick House Tavern in Chesterfield. Right? But can I have my money back? They haven't really talked about that, have they? They haven't really discussed that. I think now you might be able to talk to their corporate office, and I think they're doing it on a case-by-case of whether you'll get any money back. But this thing is turning into just a PR nightmare for them because, there was a report on local TV here that, they were being encouraged, employees were being encouraged to sell these gift cards knowing they were getting ready to shut down. That's horrible if that's true, but I'm sad that they're gone, man. All those folks out of jail, out of work. I flipped over to my next story who said that Bill Cosby needs to be in jail. My next story is Bill Cosby because Gloria Allred apparently trotted out 3 new Bill Cosby accusers, and they all said they were drugged and sexually assaulted. Linda Kirkpatrick said she met Bill Cosby in 1981 when she was 25. She met him playing tennis at a club in Vegas, and he invited her to a party in his hotel room. Captain and Tennille were there. She says he gave her a drink. She woke up a little bit later to find Bill Cosby on top of her, kissing her. She said she remembers a bracelet with Camille Cosby's name on it. She says Bill Cosby apologized the next day. She went to his hotel room again. He tried to hug and kiss her. Why would you go back to his room again? If you were sexually assaulted in a man's hotel room, why would you go back? Why would you do that? Lynn Neal says she met Bill Cosby in her 20s at a tennis club. They went out to dinner. He ordered some vodka for her, and then she was disoriented. She says Bill Cosby took her pants off and began having sex with her. The third accuser, Casey, says she met Bill Cosby while working at William Morris for Bill Cosby's personal appearance manager. She says the professional relationship soon became personal. She claims they were at lunch in his bungalow at the Bel Air Hotel. He insisted she take a pill. She did, and claims she passed out and woke up in bed with Bill Cosby, who was naked. So someone says take a pill, you take the pill? Man, I explain to my daughters all the time. You don't do nothing you don't feel comfortable doing. Don't no matter what the cost. Let it go. But I mean, I don't understand. And of course, statute of limitations have run out on these three too. So I don't know what their motive is. Maybe they're planning. Maybe they're hoping there's going to be some kind of class action suit where there'll be some settlement and they'll get something. I don't know. Gloria Allred says she'd like Bill Cosby to waive his statute of limitations, put $100 million in an escrow account, and have someone dole it out to these women. And of course, it's $100 million. Lawyers usually get 33%. She'll get $33 million, and then they'll have to split $66 million and some change. Is that how that works? Phylicia Rashad has come out swinging, saying that these women are part of a huge conspiracy. She says, I love Bill Cosby. I never witnessed him doing anything wrong with women. In fact, Phylicia Rashad says, man, forget these women. What you're seeing is a destruction of a legacy. And I think it's orchestrated. I don't know why or who's doing it, but it's the legacy. And it's a legacy that is so important to the culture. Phylicia Rashad thinks someone is pulling the strings in an effort to bring Bill Cosby's career off the rails, this last leg of his career. They want to keep him off TV. When she was asked specifically about Beverly Johnson and Janice Dickinson, two of the more famous accusers, she was like, oh, please. Now, the accusers say that Phylicia Rashad is an embarrassment. One accuser, Catherine McKee, says she's disturbed by Phylicia Rashad's comments. She says it's a greed thing. When they pull the shows, residuals stop. I don't think anybody from that show is getting residuals anymore. Maybe Bill Cosby, but I think it ran out. I mean, you only get residuals for 20, 25 years? Something like that? But they're saying that Phylicia Rashad lacks morals. Sarita Butterfield says, is a former Playboy bunny who says Bill Cosby put his hands all over her body. And she is not happy that Phylicia Rashad would blindly support Bill Cosby. What if something like this happened to her daughter? Shame on her and shame on Bill. But Phylicia Rashad's entitled to her opinion. And in her view, that she's never seen anything like this, any behavior. Bill never exhibited any kind of behavior like this before. So she's just speaking her mind. Her experience with Bill Cosby has never been anything close to that. I don't know. But these women accusers, everybody's always known about Camille Cosby. So Camille is his wife, and yet you go to his bungalow, and yet your professional relationship turned personal. And yet you went to his hotel room, even though you say he sexually assaulted you once there already. Same hotel room. You go back the next day. So to me, all these things have kind of all these red flags. Man, you went past that he's married. Okay, that happens. I get that. Happens every day. I understand that. But going in that if you're going to mess with Bill Cosby, he ain't leaving Camille. So it's going to be about the sex. And if you get money out of him, well, then that's I guess that's gravy. But other than that, I mean, what were you thinking was going to happen? You didn't expect him to drug you. Well, then why did you take the pill when he gave it to you? He says, take this pill. You say, okay. Come on, man. I don't know. I don't know. It puzzles me. I mean, on one hand, you think, well, 20-something women, man, they can't all be wrong. But then on the other hand, you're thinking, but my goodness. I don't know. My friend Robert Littall has a website called Black Sports Online, and he has a section called Not Sports, where he has stories that have nothing to do with sports. And he saw a story on the Bro Bible website. You make your own determination as to whether this happened or not. This is what Robert says. This guy writes in, my wife and I had a minor argument last night, so I figured I'd start the day on a positive note. Get some cleaning done, tidy up around the house, make everything extra nice while she relaxes. Among other things that needed cleaning, we have several sex toys, silicone dildos that we neglected to attend to. Wanting to be thorough, I brought these downstairs, set them in a small pot of water to boil. and headed upstairs for a moment to call my dad and wish him well. Quick convo with my dad turns into an involved talk with both my mom and dad. 15, 20 minutes later, my smoke alarm's going off. I forgot about the dildos that were boiling. So I get up to disarm the false alarm taking place in my house until a huge cloud of black smoke comes through the bedroom door. I'm thinking, what in the ever-living hell is burning? At the same time, my wife screams, "What the bleep?" I rush downstairs into a kitchen filled with smoke, disgusting smoke. I see a pillar of flame exposing upwards toward out of the tiny pot, which had been boiling dry for probably a few minutes. My wife's trying to activate the fire extinguisher, failing with it, hands it to me. I finally managed to blast the blaze and put out the entire thing. But he almost set his house on fire, boiling dildos. Oh man, I'm weak. Or I just don't understand. I don't know. I don't know. How many of those things do you need in a relationship? I mean, really. I mean, wouldn't one be enough? Maybe two? 3? But you got a whole pot full of them? And you boiled them, and then you boiled the water out of them, and your house almost burned down because you were trying to sanitize the dildos? I don't know, man. It's got to be me. It's got to be me. I don't know. How often do you clean those things anyway? How often are they supposed to be clean? And what do you clean them with? You just clean them with hot water? You can't like put soap on them, right? You can't like the glass ones. You can't hit them with Windex or anything. That would be unhealthy, right? I mean, if they were to be used later on, you just run them under hot water? Do you put them in a pot? Are they dishwasher safe? I don't know. That's not my world. That's not my world. Okay, fine. All right. Boy, what else we got going on here? There's a man was arrested. Where was this at? This was let's see what this is. New Orleans, in Louisiana. Apparently, a woman offered a man oral sex if she could have a ride. And he was like, yeah, okay. She's 46, he's 33. And this was New Year's Day. They were driving around with no headlights on, around 10 o'clock at night. Officer noticed someone's head moving in an up and down motion before the passenger began to scramble back to her seat. The officer, once on the side of the road, the officer says he found the man with his pants hanging down by his knees. When questioned, the man allegedly came clean to the officer, saying that the woman had offered to trade him oral sex for a ride. I'm looking at their mugshots. I wouldn't even let that woman in the car. And if I'm her, I wouldn't even walked up on that car with him driving based on how they look on their mugshots. But hey, what in the holy hell is going on here? I don't know. Hey, congratulations to Ludacris. Ludacris married Eudoxie, his girlfriend, his longtime girlfriend, his long-suffering girlfriend Eudoxie. That's what they call when a girl's been around a guy for a long time. They've been engaged for many years. And they finally married. She was the long-suffering, long-time girlfriend of whoever. But apparently, Luda decided that enough of the silliness. She's beautiful, and I'm going to marry her. So congratulations to Luda and Eudoxie. Eudoxie, Eudoxie. I won't even begin to try and pronounce her maiden name. I'll spell it for you. Mbouguiengue. Yeah. Mrs. Ludacris. Mrs. Bridges. Chris Bridges is his government tag. But they're married. Hopefully. What would I do if my daughter was going to marry a rapper? What would I do? What could I do? Do I just need to keep my mouth shut? She has to know that that's a tough marriage, man. That's tough. There's a lot of temptation there. Not saying that he can't rise above, not saying that at all, but he is a human being. That whole entertainer life thing is that's a tough road to hoe. You know what I'm saying? That's a tough road, man. I mean, you got to have a strong bond, and when we get married, we all think we have a strong bond. Otherwise, you wouldn't get married, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, congratulations, though. They didn't ask me what I thought, so let me just shut up and mind my own business. All right, we'll stop right there. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. If you could do me a favor and share this and give it a thumbs up on if you're checking it out on YouTube or on Talking360.com. It's also on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, I should say. iHeartRadio, it's up there too. And it's on Facebook. Just upload it straight to Facebook. So if you can give it a thumbs up, a like, that helps. It doesn't cost anything, and it helps a lot. So that would be very, 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 very nice if you could do that. All right. Don't forget, I have mugs on sale at unheardmedia.biz. You can let me mug you there, and my Patreon site, patreon.com, patreon.com/Tony Scott Media, all one word. You can become a patron of mine for as little as $2.99 a month. It helps offset the cost of my endeavor as I try and establish something, another source of income, if you would. And if you'd like to advertise on the podcast, you can hit me up at Tony@TonyScottMedia.com. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again for listening. I love you all so much for your support, and I'll talk to you later.